Hello, host Sebo.
Bonjour and welcome to Planet of the Climates. POTK is a KlimaDAO podcast bringing you the latest information and insight into the world of climate action. Klima is a blockchain protocol backed by carbon credits that gives people a chance to fight climate change as a collective and get rewarded for doing so. Klima sits at the intersection of blockchain, climate science, and finance, so there's no shortage of great topics for us to explore. My name's Phaedrus, and I'll be your host on this adventure, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host Diamond Hands as we
Discuss the latest news on Klima and our partners and connect you with the biggest and brightest names currently exploring this space.
That's right. And today we're really excited to bring you this conversation with Marco from Merit Circle DAO. Let's jump right into it. All right, so today we're joined by Marco from Merit Circle DAO. Merit Circle has created this decentralized autonomous organization that develops opportunities for people who want to help build the metaverse to earn through play. They do this by hosting scholarship and educational opportunities and providing everything you could need on your journey towards being an earning gamer in the metaverse. They're also one of our latest Klima Infinity partners. We're thrilled to have them join us. So to get started, Marco, maybe just on a personal level, what would you like to share about yourself, your background, some of your history and your journey so far?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So hi, everyone. My name is Marco van Heuvel. I'm one of the co-founders of Merit Circle and the CEO there. A little bit about myself. I studied international business and languages and basically have been traveling and doing work remotely for the past couple of years, mainly in Web3. I've always been a digital community builder. I love just interacting with people online. Well, in crypto, that just came very naturally, I would say. So yeah, I discovered Bitcoin in 2017 and immediately went down the rabbit hole of educating myself and others. And throughout the years, have basically ran a consultancy business on growing digital communities for mainly blockchain startups. Merit Circle is obviously a gaming DAO. We're very big on gaming. And besides growing digital communities, I've always been a diehard gamer. And so last year, after Axie Infinity blew up, I was already breeding those digital characters. I was selling them for profit. I didn't necessarily love the game itself, but I just was fascinated by this Web3 economy in gaming. And so that's very fast, I would say, translated into a scholarship guild, which is about renting out digital assets and characters to other gamers worldwide.
And that was through Axie, is that right? Or is this...
That was through Axie Infinity, yes. That's how it started. And that's how I would say most scholarship guilds started as well. And to me, it was just this fascinating model that I would say and already saw going bigger than just Axie Infinity. And very naturally, that transformed into Merit Circle from a scholarship guild. And so, yeah, it's been a really exciting journey in Web3, I would say.
Wow, sounds really cool. So I just wanted to really dive a little bit deeper on scholarship DAOs. I think for listeners here who are not very sure what is a scholarship DAO, maybe you can care to elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, so I would say if I explain Merit Circle, we basically started as a scholarship guild. And if you think about a scholarship guild, it's about being in the forefront of Web3 gaming and then mainly play to earn games. So these are games where you basically play the game, you earn rewards. And in the case of a scholarship guild, they would have facilitated the characters basically that you need to play the game. Gamers would be playing those games with your characters basically and then get a piece of the pie, whereas the scholarship guild would get a piece of the pie as well. So that's how we started indeed. But if I explain this today, I would say it's much more than that. And we actually, after raising a bunch of money, immediately pivoted away from that whole model. So if we look at Merit Circle today, it goes much beyond just a scholarship, the guild, I would say. We basically work around 4 pillars. We have an investment arm, which basically invests in both infrastructure and in gaming. We have a treasury with the DAO that counts around 105 million US. So yeah, we raised just much more than we initially anticipated, which allowed us to basically pivot away from that scholarship model, right? We have a studio arm, which basically we're looking to incubate games and maybe even ship our own games. We have our NFT marketplace called Sphere, which is going to be an NFT marketplace for gaming assets. And then on the fourth pillar, we have gaming, which basically translates to not just scholarships, which is something we still do, by the way, but also to hosting tournaments, hosting all sorts of play sessions, both Web 2 and Web 3 gaming. And I would say, just as the gaming DAO, we're really just looking to be on the forefront of gaming and not just play to earn games, but anything that you can think of when you think about Web3 gaming through investments, building products, and growing a community.
That's excellent. So thank you for that explanation and that walkthrough of your pillars there. And I'm curious as well, in the P2E or play to earn space, what sets Merit Circle apart? Is it unique that you've got these 4 pillars under one umbrella, or?
Yeah, I would say so. I think if you look at Web3 gaming right now, the players that are there are, you have infrastructure, you have game developers building games, shipping them, and you have basically scholarship guilds. I think if you talk now about a gaming DAO, I would say, yeah, it is unique. It's something that we don't really see often because especially, we have I would say an actual DAO with frameworks that have been voted in and created by the community. And so when we started Merit, it was completely different from how it is today, thanks to the input that the community has given. Just to give a really precise example of that is we have a proposal that was voted through called MIP7, MIP, Merit Improvement Proposal. And that basically fully describes how can we build a more sustainable treasury and how can we, survive the bear market, if you will. And so that proposal was created by one of our community members and talks about how do you take profit? When should you take profit? Up until what amounts can you invest without having to create new proposals? All sorts of things like that I would say make Merit Circle a pretty unique DAO, simply because of how that framework works, because of those 4 pillars that I just described. It's much broader.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, so you talked about those MIPs. Can you dive a little bit more into that governance aspect? Because obviously that's quite unique as well too, in that, your members or people who are part of the DAO get to vote and get to make decisions and steer where the organization goes in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look at DAOs, there is no single definition of what it should look like, how it should be. There's all sorts of communities doing it and calling themselves DAOs. There is different projects calling themselves DAOs. And for us, it's really just started, I would say, with 2 main things in mind. I think the first one is transparency. Since the beginning, we've done, like I said, everything through either proposals or through reporting. And so right now we have a whole framework in place that was designed by the community that talks about, how much can you invest without creating new proposals, when you take profit, the things that I just described, right? But also if we want to build our own products like the NFT marketplace I talk about, we created proposals for those. And basically the MC token holders get to vote on that. Another example, we have Xeric, which is in the make, which is going to be an NFT aggregator, if you will. That has been proposed by a community member and is currently being developed. So there's those opportunities too. If you're as an outsider or as a community member wants to help build the infrastructure that we're working on, you can totally just create a proposal and do that. And the community, if they love it, they vote it through. This is the perfect example for that. But also, if you look at the reporting section, and like I said, transparency is key. And I think that that's something that, unfortunately, we're still missing at a lot of DAOs. They don't have, for example, monthly treasury reports where you can really see how is the money that we have being used, where is it actually located. Things like that, to me, are just very key when you talk about being a DAO and operating as one, especially compared to a lot of traditional businesses. It's just much more transparent and involving.
So I used to be a gamer. I was much younger. And, seeing the rise of play to earn over the last year and a half due to COVID, how transformative is P2E in general?
Yeah, I think if you look at play to earn, initially, it's the whole concept is not new, right? I too have been a gamer since I was very young, and I started playing this game called RuneScape when I was a year 5. And around the age of 15, 16, I would find myself literally just selling in-game gold as my side job. That's how I made money. And that was before blockchain technology came into place. And so what was really fascinating to me about Web3 gaming, or play to earn, if you will, is that now those marketplaces, they're on chain, right? You can finally transfer, sell, buy digital assets in a way that is not hurting the developer and actually benefiting the player in different ways. I definitely believe in ownership of digital goods. And I think as we spend more and more time digitally, people are also going to value it much more. Similar to how you value designer clothes, for example, in real life, right? That might be very important for someone, whereas for me, it might be a digital sword in a game that I love to play. So I would say that play to earn, in that matter, it's not necessarily new, but it definitely brought a lot of advantages with it. Then if you look at play to earn gaming in terms of earning and enabling people to earn rewards, basically, that whole model, personally, I'm a little bit more skeptical on. That's something we've put out there, which is a blunt statement, I would say. But the reason why we are is because you're often dealing with net extracting communities, people that are looking to not necessarily play the game for fun, but rather to earn a quick buck. And they would always be selling their rewards, which puts pressure and challenges onto the game developer besides just building a game. And so what that model should look like in the future, to me, is a bit different from how we've seen it so far. I think that, we definitely need much higher quality games. And that's nothing, bad to say about the current ones because they're fun in their own way. But we need that, I would say, Web2 gaming industry experience, like the AAA games that we know from there. I would love to see that in Web3 with the benefits that, digital ownership has to offer.
Yeah, I found a Twitter thread of yours from a little while back there, just maybe a week or so ago. And yeah, you're talking about, that AAA is not quite ready yet, or they haven't quite tested the waters yet. What do you think it will take?
Yeah, it's almost like this chicken and egg situation to me. That's how I like to explain it. So I went to Gamescom, which is the largest European blockchain conference. And there I just got the opportunity to meet with a lot of Web2 gaming founders. And while talking to those people, it became clear to me that we shouldn't wait for those big studios to come into Web3 to be among, the forefront of revolutionizing that industry, if you will, because they have, more conservative strategies and conservative stakeholders. So they're very, I would say, almost comfortable with where they are because they are building more long-term games with sustainable economies versus experimenting. So then what is needed to bring those people to Web3? The simple answer is you need one successful game that has what it takes to ship to the masses and attracts, a really large user base, much more than the 2-3 million monthly active users we see now across whole Web3 gaming. Just to give an example, some of the people I spoke with have shipped games that had like 400-500 million total registered users. I would love to see that in Web3 gaming, but I think that will just still take a few years because, building a proper game takes years. And activating that experience to join us also takes time.
So the PD component isn't exactly something they can just copy paste onto an existing, blockbuster game, right?
If you look at the games that you would do that with, typically you see all the games being put into a new Web3 jacket, right? But these games were often not successful. And so if you're putting a unsuccessful game into that new jacket, it doesn't suddenly become, a successful game. Whereas if you have a really successful game that is generating significant revenue, then you get back to the point of, we're a bit more conservative because this works. So why we put that user base and that success at risk? So that's why I said it's kind of a chicken and egg situation. I do think that they will need to be new games. But at the same time, this whole week at Gamescom too did also point out to me that there's also massive opportunity of innovation, which is similar to what you saw in the gaming industry when you moved to from paid games to free to play. All the game developers would find themselves in a position of being skeptical towards that, right? How can you ship a free game and generate enough revenue to not be killed out of business? But if you look at gaming today, the majority of games are free to play and are very successful. So I feel like Web3 is just this new challenge. And I think if you look at a lot of the bigger studios right now in Web2, they were saying Web3 is also a little bit like affecting our business because Web3 simply versus traditional gaming has a lot of money involved, right? So rather than having a lot of users and generating revenue, here you're going to have the situation where you're sitting on a lot of money and you're looking to get users. So for those businesses, they are seeing increased user acquisition costs because Web3 companies simply throw much more money at user acquisition for their games, which are shorter lasting games versus the long-term sustainable games. And because of that, you simply, ship the next game where you again go for higher user acquisition costs. That is affecting businesses, mainly smaller and newer games, right? That might not be in Web3. But for a party like Microsoft, it might hurt them a little bit, but still they are big. So ultimately they do reap rewards from probably playing that game with us and just, increasing their budgets to fight over the same users. It's a challenging situation again there too, but I don't think that we will see a monopoly there.
Happy to hear that.
That would suck as a gamer, right?
Yeah.
Just being able to play a whole small bunch of titles.
Totally.
Interesting. Maybe just to shift gears here, you're now a Klima Infinity partner. When did you first meet Klima and how did this develop?
Yeah, good question. I think as soon as we started Merit Circle, we were already having some conversations about, sustainability. It's obviously a massive topic, climate change. There are massive topics that you just hear so often. And especially if you look at NFTs, blockchain, it's been put into largely a bad daylight, I would say, throughout these past few years because of its impact on the environment. So one of my colleagues, Fake, he reached out to Offsetra, which are the creators of Carbon.fyi. While talking to them, we discovered Klima. And I think, as we were having those discussions with them and talked about what could we do as a DAO to basically do good, that's when to us it was pretty clear that, we would love to work together with you guys on actually doing that. So that's how we got involved, and very glad we did, and how we got where we are now.
Excellent. Yeah. So you talked about the climate change off the top there. How important is that to you for Merit Circle to be doing something actively or proactively in that regard?
Well, I think as cheesy as it might sound, we only have one planet, right? And I think these conversations around pollution and climate change, like I said, they happen on a daily basis. And I think everyone has an opinion about it. Everyone wants to help in their own way, some more than others. And I think for us, just immediately became clear that, sure, we don't have an office and we don't, go to our offices on a daily basis. So we might save a little bit on that side. But still, we do visit conferences. We might have to take a flight or a train. So still, you have some kind of impact. And I think for us, it's easy to say and to point at large companies and say, you are at fault. You have to be the solution and not do something ourselves. To me, that would be a bit, I don't know, just not right. So for us, it was just clear that we are now in a position where we could measure our carbon footprint. We could see, okay, how can we offset that in the best possible way? To us, which is really important to not just talk about it, but actually do something about it. And I think for me, like I said, I don't have to go to an office on a daily basis, which I'm already very happy about from both a time perspective and obviously a climate perspective. We operate fully remotely and we have people across the globe and everyone uses, technology, things like that. So we do have somewhat of an impact. But then even when we do, for example, a trip to a conference or something like that, we're always very picky on, okay, who do we actually send there? We're not going to fly out there from all sorts of different locations with, 8 to 10 people. No, we just pick the ones that we actually need and just try to be as effective as possible for both budget reasons and for climate reasons.
Yep. Totally agree. This is a question I like to ask. Currently, we are going through the bear market right now. But my question to you is, how does it affect play to earn games, the development and the launches of game during this bear market?
Absolutely. I think as a gaming company right now, you can find yourself in two situations, basically. A is you've probably raised money before the bear market started, and you find yourself in a pretty comfortable position with plenty of runway to just develop. Quite frankly, I like to call this season building season, and so do many other people in Web3, because this is the perfect moment where building I would say, small but concentrated and very engaged community that actually cares about your product. And so you have less eyes on your product and you can focus more on building, but also collecting feedback from those that actually care about what you're doing without being judged too much, without getting, a whole sentiments check from a broader audience, I would say. So that's for those companies that find themselves in that position. It's a very beneficial situation to be in right now. Because like I said, building a game takes years, like building a proper game. Then there's also companies right now that they've maybe raised a little bit of money to work on an MVP or to just go through early stages, and they need to raise more money right now. There, I would say that's more challenging and quite unfortunate for some parties. But there too, there are still venture capitals that are investing in games, in infrastructure, in DeFi, all of the Web3 things you can think of. Just the valuations might need to come down a bit. And I think if we're honest about valuations in Web3, then very often they are a bit blown up anyways, right? And by a bit, I mean a lot. For some of the games that we saw at the peak valuation, you'd be talking about thousands, if not $10,000 worth of value, basically per player, if you would calculate their market share to value per player. And compare that to more traditional companies, it's just not sustainable. And so I think that has it affected play to earn? It definitely has. I think if you look at the economies of a lot of play to earn games, you can see that they're completely shattered. A large reason for that is because, like I said initially, you're dealing with a audience in most of the play to earn games that are not necessarily fun to play. You're dealing with an audience that is not extracting value. So they are just looking for that quick buck. And then if you think about the characters, the NFTs that you use in the game, if it's not generating enough money for you, then you will find yourself selling them on the marketplace. And where tokens have typically an order book, NFTs don't necessarily have that. It's a different kind of liquidity that you have there. So you find people just undercutting each other very much. That's why, definitely the bear market has very much affected play to earn gaming. But I do think that if you look at games are being played in any situation. COVID was a good example. During COVID, you saw just games getting record numbers of active players. And so for the games that are fun to play, which right now is mainly Web2 games, but will also be Web3 games, it doesn't affect the overall activity, I would say.
Nice. So, of course, let us change gear a little bit. So, what are the emerging opportunities that excite you the most right now, with about blockchain, Web3, and play to earn?
Yeah, that's a fun question, actually. And I think before I answer that, let's just circle back a little bit to our conversation with Microsoft, right? We are talking about a big player becoming a monopoly and us being afraid of that. I think what I love about Web3 is that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter who you are. What matters is what you build and what you ship. And I think if I had been in a traditional company, I would probably still be in a junior position somewhere. We can be honest about that, right? Or maybe I would just have moved out of that. Whereas now in Web3, I've gotten the opportunity to actually build together with obviously a great amount of people around me with their own skill sets, just been able to create this DAO that is just doing all sorts of things in Web3 and being at the forefront of Web3 gaming. And to me, that's probably the most exciting thing in Web3. Then if we think about just Web3 itself, right? For gaming, it's still at its infancy. We've talked about that. We've spoken about the chicken and egg situation of more experienced developers coming in versus where we're at right now. And I think for me, it's just very exciting to focus on basically taking what works in Web2 gaming, which might be free to play, which might be broader content than what you see in the Web3 games right now, taking those things to Web3 gaming with those benefits, like I said, with custodial wallets that do allow you to still do stuff on chain, with actual ownership of the games and those basically getting a piece of the pie of the games. Combining those different benefits to me are very exciting, and that still is a massive opportunity in blockchain. And then if we go beyond gaming and look at, for example, other utility of NFTs, right? There is, for example, ticketing. A big problem right now in ticketing is you are buying a fake ticket. I think there's just so many different examples of where blockchain technology still can play a big role that, the example that I name right now might be completely different from what we're seeing in a few years, and might be things that we are not even thinking of right now. I think it's just a very exciting position to be in, to be among, again, the forefront of just experiencing those developments, because it's almost like you're reinventing the internet and distributing it in a different way.
Absolutely. Thanks for your vision and your insights about what could be coming down the pipeline there. And I think you're absolutely right. But it is a question like, going back 40 years and saying, what do you think computers are going to do? You could guess, you could pick something, but there's just no chance that you're going to get it all right. It's just such a foundational technology and a tool that we're witnessing getting put to use. So what's next for Merit Circle now? If people want to learn more, where should they go? You've got a website, you've got Discord as well, and Twitter, and where can they get the latest and get involved?
Yeah, so I would say if you're interested in getting the latest, then if it's on a DAO and crypto level, I would say join us on Telegram and Twitter. At Twitter, I believe it's Merit Circle _IO. And on Telegram, it's @Merit Circle. If you're more of a gamer that just wants to get involved and play cool games or test new games, that would be Discord, which is discord.gg/Merit Circle. What's next for us? A lot is next for us. We've actually just created a proposal and just put it on the forum for a pretty large investment of, I think, 9 million total in 2 games that have, they have code names. We cannot mention which games there are yet, but we want to basically go for high conviction games with higher ticket sizes rather than just kind of spray and pray at a lot of different companies with smaller tickets, right? So we changed our strategy there. And I would say if that proposal goes through, yeah, that's pretty big for us because they're really large investments and we'll just be much more involved with a party actually building a massive game or massive games because there are 2. Then if we look at the development side of things, that too is really exciting. We're making great progress with our NFT marketplace, which I said is going to be just for gaming assets. And it's really about the gamer experience and the developer being able to lay out that gamer experience. So you have customizable pages. You can really just share what is the game about, what are the characters about, rather than just seeing a blank page with an NFT and a buy now button, right? So really excited for that, to see that being shipped within hopefully the next few months. We don't have a precise timeline out there yet, but yeah, like I said, making great progress on that. And then we also are working on our gaming platform, which you could almost see, and I don't necessarily like the example, but could see it as a Steam with an academy section as well as a reward section. And basically that will, in my opinion, play a key role in building a community, an actual gamer community, where you as a gamer can find an overview of all the Web3 games there are. You can get started with them. If you don't want to necessarily immediately swipe your card, you can just use one of our NFTs, right? Similar to the scholarship model. And you can just get fully in-depth guides. You can win early access slots for new games. So I would say that's just going to be a major part of us building an actual gamer community. And these are the main things that we are focused on right now, I'd say. And that's going to take us, I would say, very, very many more months, especially to improve it. But I'm just super excited about shipping those products and just seeing those investments work out well, hopefully. But just to be more involved with, Web 2 gaming studios coming into Web 3 is really exciting.
It sounds like it would be a critical piece of the puzzle there for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that website too, the Merit Circle DAO website, is going to get a complete new jacket soon enough. Like I said, we are a gaming DAO, not necessarily a scholarship guild anymore. And I think, when we started, this website was perfect, but it doesn't quite translate or display what we do today. And so, yeah, I'm very excited about that new website coming live soon as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Marco.
Very glad that I got to join today's session. Yeah, if anyone has questions, you can always just jump in our community and ask them, because there's always people around to answer them. Yeah, other than that, just really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for joining us today.
Brilliant. Yeah, excellent.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye.
Wow, that was definitely a great conversation. It was awesome to chat with Marco and learn more about his background and really his journey to be at the forefront of Web3 and the P2E space right now. So yeah, I don't know about you, Reiku, but I really appreciated learning about his perspectives on, what's happening right now with the market being where it is and where play to earn is going in the future. Really appreciated his insights. and also appreciated his perspective on the climate crisis and the passion that it sounds like a lot of his team has around taking action individually and through their organization, and as well through our Klima Infinity partnership. It's just great to have that chat. So what stuck with you?
I think that it's the unspoken for me. You can really tell that he's really excited about his project, and it feels to me it's like by gamers for gamers in that sense, whereby they themselves are gamers and trying to create a conducive and cooperative environment, for not just gamers but also developers themselves. And they're going to spend 9 million on developing 2 new games. This says a lot about this platform they're creating, whereby if you have a really good game, you have a really good idea, there will be the person to go to, there will be people to go to, to pitch your idea and let them be able to bring your idea to fruition. So that's something that I myself as a gamer are really excited about.
Yeah, very cool. Definitely, it sounds like Merit Circle has quite a little war chest there, as we were chatting about casually here too, and they're ready to kind of work through crypto winter here and be in things for the long haul. All right, so thank you everybody for tuning in, and just want to send a little reminder for you as well. It would be just incredible if you like, follow, subscribe, whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. If you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating, leave a review, wherever you are, that would just mean so much. Otherwise, for everything else, Klima, make sure that you're hitting up KlimaDAO.finance, where you're going to be able to stake bond, and most importantly, I think, find that link to our Discord community, because we're community driven just like this podcast as a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. So when you join us, you're going to find a great group of Climates and plenty of opportunities to contribute and be an active Climate if you would like to too. So we hope you really enjoyed this conversation with Marco from Merit Circle DAO, and thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to saying hello once again on the very next Planet of the Climates.